Air India is going through a turbulent time. Their flight delays, emergency landings, mid-air U-turns, technical snags, bad in-flight service, everything has become so much more pronounced in recent days. If you believe social media and some news channels, suddenly it feels nothing is going right for Air India, the same airline that was India's national carrier once upon a time. But the increased scrutiny on Air India is obvious. Flyers are still anxious and worried. Air India and the whole country is still reeling from last week's crash. Air India Flight 171, which was a Boeing 7878 series Dreamliner, was flying from Ahmedabad to London's Gatwick Airport. It crashed seconds after takeoff straight into BG Medical College. Reports say a total of 270 people have been killed, while the official death toll is awaited. Miraculously, one person has survived this air crash. For the last few days, we've seen heartbreaking visuals of mortal remains of the victims being handed over to families. This morning, visuals came in from Mumbai's Powai area, where Captain Sumit Sabharwal's 88-year-old father broke down while paying tribute to his son. Captain Sumit Sabharwal had over 80 to 100 hours of flying experience, and he was the pilot of this unfortunate aircraft that crashed in Ahmedabad. So yes, emotions are running high, and that is natural. And there are also legitimate questions on Air India. After all, issues have been reported in at least 6 Air India flights so far in the last 36 odd hours. So why are there frequent cancellations or technical snags being reported suddenly? Are their flights not being checked? But at the same time, many are also raising the question that is the criticism of Air India being taken a bit too far now? And is the real cause of concern there is Boeing being forgotten? Hello and welcome, I'm Shubham Chauhan. Let's get started. Now let's start with the latest update. Air India on Tuesday afternoon cancelled its flight from Ahmedabad to London Gatwick. The reason, Air India said in a statement, was that the aircraft was not available, and this unavailability was due to airspace restrictions and additional precautionary checks. Now this is the same flight and route that saw a crash last week. The flight number then was AI-171 and the aircraft was the Boeing 7878 series Dreamliner flying on the same route. After the crash, Air India retired this number in memory of the victims and renamed the Ahmedabad-London Gatwick flight number as AI-159. Services on this route began on Monday. This afternoon, news agency ANI put out bites from passengers of AI-159 who said Air India cancelled this flight at the last moment due to a technical failure. That was the reason that was given to these passengers on ground in Ahmedabad. Air India clarified, however, that there was no technical snag in the flight. In their statement, the airline added that alternative arrangements to fly over 200 plus concerned passengers to their destinations were made. Air India also added that they are providing hotel accommodation and also offering full refunds on cancellations or complimentary rescheduling if opted by the passengers. And as a result of today's cancellation of AI-159, Air India also informed that AI-170 from London Gatwick to Amritsar in Punjab on 17 June also stands cancelled. And within minutes, news came in that another Air India flight has been cancelled. Flight AI-143 from New Delhi to Paris was cancelled after mandatory pre-flight checks identified an issue, which Air India said is presently being addressed. Consequently, flight AI-142 from Paris to Delhi on the 18th of June 2025 also stood cancelled. And this list goes on that we've seen happened in the last 36 hours. Early on Tuesday, an Air India flight from San Francisco to Mumbai suffered a snag in one of its engines. All passengers on the flight were asked to deplane at the airport in Kolkata, where the flight had stopped for a layover. On Monday, an Air India Express flight from Delhi to Ranchi was diverted back to the national capital shortly after taking off due to a suspected technical issue. Before that, an Air India flight returned to Hong Kong shortly after takeoff due to a mid-air technical issue. And this was an aircraft from the Boeing 7878 series. Air India said in a statement that the New Delhi-bound plane landed in Hong Kong safely and was undergoing checks as a matter of abundant precaution. The airport authority in Hong Kong said in a separate statement that flight AI-315 returned to the airport at around 1 p.m. On Monday, one more Air India flight was cancelled after facing delays caused by operational issues. And this eventually led to the expiry of the cruise duty time, and that flight was affected. Now, amidst this series of cancellations, snags and delays, the Directorate General of Civil Aviation, or DGCA, has called a meeting with top officials from Air India and Air India Express. And separately, Reuters has reported that the DGCA has asked Air India for the training records of the pilots and dispatcher for the plane that crashed last week. This is, of course, as part of a separate investigation that is happening into the AI 171 crash. So, in all, Air India has a lot to answer on that front. But be that as it may, there are some basic questions that have emerged as far as these cancellations slash snags slash delays are concerned. Is it the first time that a flight has been cancelled or delayed? Any flight, let alone Air India? And the answer is no. Frequent flyers would know that when they reach the airport, looking at the screens put up there for information on their flight, you would often see red or orange marks that show some or the other flight being delayed or cancelled or rescheduled on some or the other route. Now, there is no consolidated data available on how frequently this happens, but there's one website we came across that showed data from the United States. Total delays today at all US airports, as per this website, was 9,802. Total delays within, into, or out of the US was at 675, and total cancellations today, as per this website, stood at 618. Now, of course, the causes and reasons vary from airline to airline and route to route. Sometimes there is a technical snag, as we are seeing with some of Air India flights. Sometimes there is an issue within the flight, weather conditions, problem with crew, etc. There's a combination of reasons why such things happen. So Air India isn't the only airline facing the delay slash cancellation that we are seeing at the moment. But of course, the extremely minute and minute-to-minute reporting of what Air India flights are up to post the crash is making us feel that something is terribly wrong, which is partly true, but not an Air India specific issue as it is being made out by some people. It's just that the scrutiny is far greater. For Air India, the lesson ever since the crash has been to get its act together, which is an uphill task, mind you. Plug the loopholes, service your planes on time, get it thoroughly examined by experts in case there is an issue, and overall up the standard now that this Air India is owned by the Tata Group and not by the government. Now, the second aspect is that some of the Air India flights in question over the last 40 odd hours involve a 7878 series Boeing Dreamliner. And that is, this is the same aircraft that was involved in the fatal crash of last week. That is concerning. A flight with an impeccable safety record until the Ahmedabad crash is now reporting snags. Now, it's not confirmed yet whether the Ahmedabad crash was due to a technical fault, but yes, we are seeing snags being reported in this flagship Boeing aircraft, which, like I said, is believed to have an impeccable safety record until recently. In fact, a Chennai-bound flight of British Airways on Sunday returned to London's Heathrow Airport after a flap adjustment failure was reported. British Airways said in a statement that the aircraft returned to Heathrow as a standard precaution after reports of a technical issue on the Boeing 7878 series. Now, it is important to note that more than 1,100 Dreamliners of Boeing are used by airlines around the world, and this has ferried more than 1 billion passengers already. In case there's a widespread issue that is indeed detected as far as this particular aircraft 7878 series or generation is concerned, Boeing has nowhere to hide. Like their 787s were grounded in 2013 due to a lithium-ion battery issue, the American company needs to be right up there and rectify all these issues as soon as possible. As for Air India, there were reports of the government planning to ground all 787 Dreamliners in India temporarily post the Ahmedabad crash. Eventually, the DGCA ordered a thorough inspection of all the aircrafts in question. Of 33 total Dreamliners that Air India has in its inventory, the process of inspection has been completed in as many as 22 aircrafts. And thankfully, nothing major has come up as of now. So that was one other aspect. But now let's look at flyers. Of course, any news of delay or snag is concerning and upsetting. Even the smallest of issue, especially post the Ahmedabad crash, is heightening anxiety. And all of that is understandable. Many have begun cancelling their scheduled flights. Many say they will never fly Air India ever again. And many are saying they will not fly in a Boeing aircraft. And all of those concerns, like I said, are valid. But data shows that flights are comparatively still the safest mode of transport. A survey shows that between 2018 and 2022, the global death risk per flight boarding was approximately 1 in 13.7 million. In comparison, the WHO estimated that 1.19 million fatalities from road accidents were reported in 2023. That is more than 2 deaths per minute. So that way flight is of course safer is what data is saying. Now, of course, the aim of this video is not to defend Air India whatsoever. The airline has pressing issues that it needs to address as soon as possible. Post the crash, regaining trust of the people is one of the foremost tasks, and that is an uphill task for the Tata Group and Air India to do, win trust of the people. Technical checks also have to be identified prior and get it rectified by experts. But fear-mongering or blaming everything on pilots or Air India like some people are doing on social media would not help things at all. That's all we have for this report. Thanks for watching.